As-Sabiqun wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Naduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa uminu bihi jalla wa la wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haqq liyudhhiruhu ala din kullihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life, known as Islam, will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd fa inna asdaqal hadith kitabullah wa awtaqa al-ura kalimatul taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayrul sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Quran wa khayrul umuri awazzabuha wa shayrul umuri muftadatuha wa asanu al-hajju hajju al-anbiya wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada wa amma al-amma dalalatul ba'da al-huda wa khayrul a'mali ma nafa wa khayrul hadi ma utba'a wa shayrul amma al-kaw. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the communities is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things, the best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. The best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Allah commands justice, doing of good, and liberality to kin and kin. He forbids all shameful deed and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah willeth to guide in His plan, He opens their breast, the sadr, to Islam. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. You are the best peoples ever raised up for mankind, enjoining what is right, forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu attaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutuna illa wa antum muslimun. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanallah asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa barakna hawlahu li nuriyahu min ayatina innahu huwa as-Sami'ul Basir. Glory to Allah, who did take His servant for a journey by night from the sacred Masjid to the Furthest Mosque, whose precincts we did bless, in order that we might show Him some of our signs, for He is the one who heareth and knoweth all things. This is, of course, about Al-Quds, or Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa in those days was known as the Furthest Mosque. And we know that one of the names of Masjid al-Aqsa is also Al-Ul al-Qiblatain. Al-Ul al-Qiblatain. So it's the first Qibla for the Muslims. We pray toward Jerusalem. So Al-Ula al-Qiblatain is the first of the two Qiblas. Number one, Al-Ula, Qiblatain, two Qiblas, right? So this Al-Quds, Jerusalem, has a special place in the mind and the heart and the soul of Muslims and Islam itself. And we are talking about this a little bit today, as we talked about it a little bit before, because some of the Muslims, they talk about Masjid al-Aqsa during the Isra wa Miraj. They talk about it then. But in the day-to-day life, sometimes they forget. They forget the special place that Jerusalem holds in our mind and in our heart. Now, for most of us here, we're African Americans, right? So when people talk about a lot of the things that in history and what have you, we can take it or we can leave it. But once we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, then Jerusalem now takes a special place. It is above and beyond the issue of Palestine, although Palestine is linked to it. And let me try to explain that a little bit. We are African Americans, a lot of some African. We're just right here in Southeast D.C. We got our little business we're going here and there. And we think about, Mecca, and we want to make Hajj and all of that, and it is special. But then we forget about Al-Ul al-Qiblatain, the first of the two Qiblas. See, in the Quran, you can find throughout the Quran where it is talking about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We see you looking toward the sky, right? Searching, you know what I mean? He's expecting something. He wants something. And then Allah bless him right in the middle of prayer. They're praying over here, Allahu Akbar. And then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the prayer turns exactly. Now, see, you can measure the way the Qibla is, And he turns exactly in the prayer towards Mecca. From then on, like many of them old Masjid, there's a few still around, they have two Qiblas in that Masjid. A lot of the old, very old ones. The Qibla for Jerusalem, right? And the Qibla toward Mecca. Huh? That's why it's known as Al-Ul al-Qiblatain. Now, for me and you, if this is the first of the two Qiblas, it is above and beyond the issue of Palestine, although when that issue comes up, and it is discussing, sometimes the Quran mentions war is acceptable, especially when you've been expelled from your land, right? Certain things like that. Or you might destroy beautiful institutions that have been built with the name of Allah in mind, right? So you can struggle for those reasons. Now, right now, today, I mentioned, it might have been just last Sunday in our program, but I just mentioned to everybody to hold on for a minute, because certain things is getting ready to happen. For many years, the people of Palestine, dear brothers and sisters, that includes not only Christians and others, Muslims and Christians, right? Because see, there's the Christians right there, Christian Arabs. One of my best friends, when we was in prison, he was a Christian Arab, And I used to say, hey man, help me with your language. And I would read it and he would say, mm-hmm. But you know what I realized? He'd been over here so long, he technically didn't know Arabic. He was a real modern. I think his father might have been almost like the Pope or something, So anyway, let's get back to Al-Ul al-Qiblatain, first of the two Qiblas. Glory be to Allah who sent his messenger for a journey by night from the sacred Masjid to the furthest Masjid. In those days, that was Masjid al-Aqsa, the furthest Masjid. whose precincts we did bless. Now, I just want you to understand that it ain't nothing for the Zionists like they did last couple of weeks ago. They try to make it look like the Muslims are shooting rockets over here because of no, they came in our masjid with shoes on and everything else. They invaded the precincts which are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? They invaded that area. In fact, they invade the whole, what they call Temple Mount, right? They invade, they walk in there with shoes and they do anything that they want to us. Our brothers, our Palestinian brothers, in a place that is blessed and it is special to us, right, as Muslims. And it's also technically special for them. But they don't have no sanctity. You know what they're doing under Masjid? They're trying to destroy the foundation. They've been doing that for 50 years. Since 69, trying to dig under there so the masjid will collapse, right? These are things that the Zionists are doing. Now y'all see us pictures with Yahoo. In fact, you know, like, in fact, you think the brothers ain't tough. Anybody that will wear them fur coats and fur hats and it's 102 degrees outside, it's tough. You know, but these are God serving, God worshiping. And they use the term the Almighty. They don't use God, but the Almighty. Right? Turakarti and others. The original Jews in that area, and especially the ones, even the president of Israel, Abba way back, he mentioned something about that 500 years ago when they were expelled from Spain and what have you, they went back to a place they called paradise, and it was Jerusalem, right? So for the real, we're not going to say Israelis, we're not going to even say Zionists, but for real Yahud, for real Jews, it has a special place for them. And believe it or not, guess what? They don't want to have nothing to do with the Zionists. You know what their lectures say? The Zionists have hijacked our religion. They stole it. Because Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. Zionism is a nationalistic religious state where Judaism, right, is a socio-religious cooperation of people working together to please the Almighty. That's what they say, right? And we've had plenty of programs with our brothers. So the point is not being against Jews. It's being against Zionism. Zionism is exactly like Nazism. The same thing. And the Zionists treat Palestinians, word for word, exactly like Nazis treated Jews. Isn't that right? You kill one Jew, we're going to kill 200 of you. Every time there's a skirmish over there, 10 Yahud, 5 Yahud get killed, hundreds of Muslims get killed. Right? Now, I want to get into this today, the last few days. This is a different time. Now, you have to realize that at this masjid, we are not these Saudi handkerchief-headed Muslims running around here, right? We are aligned with the God-serving, peace-loving Muslims of the Muslims in what we call occupied Palestine, right? The United Nations or none of those operations had any right to give away our land, 1948, to Europeans, right? And Europeans have a right. They come from Russia, Poland, the United States. They have a right to come there, and this little, what they call, started the week before last, this was about the Yahud invading our masjid, right? With their shoes on and everything else, and also taking of land. It's about 5 housing projects or something, right? The people had the deed from the time of Uthmaniyya, from the time of the Ottoman Empire, they have the deeds. And these people, right, come and say, we don't follow those, we don't care nothing about that. And they were taking and kicking our people out. This is the root of the problem. When you listen to some of the news, they say, well, those Muslims are firing rockets over to us and we're going to respond. They're going to respond with what? With US-made weapons, with money that come from the US, right? Did you sign on your tax sheet that you want to send some money to Israel? Absolutely not. But they're sending it anyway. In a minute, I'm going to get to some of the things that we're dealing with here. If you want to know why George Floyd was held with his knee, with the knee of the police on his neck for so long, it was part of the head-breaking, back-breaking policies of the Israelis. Have you seen in the last 10 years the police cars in D.C. have their lights flickering when they drive by? You know where that came from? Occupied Palestine. The Zionists drive like that. How did they get that? Now, we've been brutalized by police a lot, tell the truth. But all of a sudden, where is these new policies? They're killing a brother every hour if they can get their hands on one, right? And there's no remorse. Why is there no remorse? The Zionists have no remorse. They have been taught and trained by Israelis. And the Israeli attitude toward the Palestinian is worse than the Peckerwoods and white man's attitude toward me and I, you and I, right? Old Euro's coming around a little bit here in the States, but the Zionists ain't coming around about nothing. I'm telling you, that's who you got. Does anybody remember reading or hearing about? Right. That's the policies. They're being trained, their upgrade. Boss man's treatment of us was not severe enough. So they went and got that head-busting, back-breaking, shooting down point blank, right? From the Israelis. Boss man been pretty bad here, I tell you. To outdo boss man, you gotta be seriously oppressive. What's been happening in the last few years? Why they do it with no remorse? I mean, you can see it all there. It is the Zionists. That is the Zionist policy toward our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And they're teaching the U.S. about police brutality. And it was always like that. It was 3 big occupiers. It used to be South Africa. We used to call it the Triangle of Terror. South Africa, right? Apartheid. USA, and the Zionist state of Israel. Okay, now let me move on a little bit. So glory be to Allah, who did take his servant for a journey by night from the sacred mosque to the furthest mosque, whose precincts we did bless, in order that we might show him some of our signs. For he is the one who heareth and knoweth all things. So, I just wanted to say, when you read about this ayat, there's more involved than the Isra and Miraj, right? That Palestine is not an African American or an Arab issue. It's an Islamic issue, right? Ul al-Qiblatain. So that means, before African Americans always supported, not always, some of the Jews had us for a minute, but for the longest we have been seriously, there are sister cities with occupied Palestine, the black movement, sister cities, right? Because we have that. But see, for us, it's not a national issue. It's not a racial issue. It's an Islamic issue. It's part of the deen. This goes along. It is our duty that when people oppress, fighting is prescribed for us under certain conditions. One of them, when you've been expelled from your land, right? That for no other reason than you say that Allah is God. Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. All of those things have a lot to do with our people in occupied Palestine and for you and I right here. When we participate in all these Palestinian demonstrations here, this is our Islamic duty. And we should put it first as our Islamic duty over our national and racial in harmony with Arabs, right? This is what the Quran is telling us. Anyway, I want to move on a little bit. Now, we've had a lot of things going on here, and I just want to, I don't know, y'all can't see this right here, but this says, this is our place in Oakland. It says, the Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. Now, that sign was torn down several years ago. And it was torn down by the people, I'll show you the picture of the person that tore it down. Here he is right here. This is so-called Mukhtar Ali Mujahid. Now, if this is me, and this is the police, and as you can see the sign, Masjid al-Islam, why can they come arrest me at the masjid and the deed is in, Masjid al-Islam, but it has these, Why can all of that happen? It's the same thing that relates to the Zionist issues. Why can they come in the masjid and assault the poor Imam in the masjid? And why don't I respond like with a lot of fighting and hurrah? Why don't I do that? Now, if you could see this, you could tell. When they took me to the hospital, they thought that I was shot in the chest because they were working on my chest. I said, hold it, I got it busted upside. They said, oh, there was so much blood, it ran down, and it was running right there. But anyway, I want to give you an idea of why the Zionists are managing this whole little system that's going on with us right now. few pictures and then I want to explain why we specialize so much in things like the Zionist movement, because we are aware of it. Now, this is an article, it was 10 years ago. Revolution from Egypt to the Americas. Oakland and the American Islamic Revolution. And then it has pictures. The first picture is Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Y'all all know H.R. Brown? That's Imam Jamil Al-Amin, H.R. Brown. In the Civil Rights Movement, if you take the top 4 people, okay, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, and who else? H.R. Brown, Imam Jamil Al-Amin. What did he do? He accepted Islam. He became not H.R. Brown anymore. Remember, talking about being on the run? He was on the, you know where you get your picture in the post office and the 10 wanted. That was Imam Jamil. Okay, he came out. It was Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin. So now they're on this case. That beautiful community in Atlanta and the whole Al-Ummah, what he started, that whole organization of Masjid around the United States and our neighborhoods and black neighborhoods. He was the Imam of all of that. Then, he's been in prison since 2000, right? And we know they set him up, but he's been in prison for 20 years now. 19, good God Almighty. 2000 to 2020, he's been in the penitentiary 21 years. Okay, he's losing his eyesight, his health is bad, all of those things. Then, Imam Luqman, another member of his community. What happened to him? Does anybody remember? Nobody remembers.
He was martyred.
He was shot dead 18 times or 21 times, whichever one you take. Right? And then they have your dear brother right here, me. Now let me explain, I don't have to explain what this means. Because you know, but look here what it means. Okay, we got one of your homeboys, he's in prison for the rest of his life. We didn't kill your other homeboy, you know, these all like best friends, other brother even. And nigga, if you get out, if you keep on talking that trash, we getting you too. That's what it means. There's 3 people on here, 2 of them are dead. Okay, so when you see stuff like this, you know that this is normal. And you have people here talking about the Masjid, and they don't have nothing to do with the Masjid, and the police don't care. But they're taking me out of the Masjid, right? And if I'm assaulted, that's a few more things. If you got the right friends, like Saudi Arabia, you in. But if you got other friends that they don't like there is no Negro in the United States, or no American, that has a picture with the rock bar. I mean, right, you know. So that means that now if you come back from overseas and you got pictures like this, they gonna say, hey. And if you're on the front page of a newspaper, this is not Arabic, this is Farsi, but it uses, here when it uses fitna, it's because we're giving an organized lecture on the leadership is a global protection, is a protection against global fitna, good leadership. That's what we're saying. Now that's on the front page of the political paper over there. Now I want to get to what we deal with, and we deal with it all the time. And I also want to bring you some good news. Because there's all types of struggle and warfare, and I'll try to bring it on in and wrap it up. So first of all, does anybody remember the invasion of Lebanon in 2006, what we called it? We called it Bashir. Bashir was good news. Like Musa was a Mubashir. He brought good news. And they thought we was crazy. Right? Y'all remember anybody? Yeah. Okay, we made three lectures on that subject that we said no. Everybody's saying they're destroying this and they're destroying that, and we said no, that's good news. And then pretty soon, what did they see? They start seeing that the brothers in Lebanon had it together so well, right? That they started saying, man, they must have, you remember in American history, the Indians used to believe, American Indians, that you could wear a certain shirt and do a certain ghost dance that white folks couldn't see. It didn't work for them. But in Lebanon, I'm telling you, you could see in 2006, Zionists sitting on them tanks doing what? Crying gigantic tears. We can't find them. We can't see them. We can't do, right? The Hezbollah had combined second and third generation weapons to be able to fight against fourth and fifth generation weapons. And they defeated the Zionists. They defeated the Zionists. And it gave the Muslims and the Arab world a big boost for a while. Right now, we have the richest Arab country in the world killing the Muslims in the poorest Arab country in the world. You have the United States and the British is behind or supporting Saudi Arabia in killing the people of Yemen. Not only wedding parties, but they're killing the poor little children. You just don't want to look at it. You have to look at it because you have to report on it and develop a feeling. But their arms as big as your finger sometimes. And that's Saudi Arabia, the so-called keepers of the Haramain. Khadim al-Haramain, they call themselves. Right? No. They're not Khadim al-Haramain. They're stooges for one of the most oppressive governments in the history of the world, the United States government. That's right. The homeboy here, hey, if he's not in first place, he's pretty close. Because the British couldn't beat him, the Romans couldn't beat him. You can't find nobody in history with a record as bad as they have in America. Now I know many of you might have came from overseas to maybe for a job to enjoy the beauties of America. Well, we've been here all the time. We just been here. And this boy don't let up. Especially you open your mouth like our brothers do. Well, like I do, right? Where are you going to get this khutbah? You're going to go to Darwin, go somewhere. See if you can find it. They don't have them there, do they? Tell the truth. They ain't even thinking about it. Why? Because, well, my job, my family, my da-da-da, right, on down the line, they got a whole list. We're not into that. Because we're reading the Quran and we're finding that we have some responsibility there. But now I want to tell you about that responsibility, wrap it up, and we head on in. How are we going to do this here in America? Okay, here's what we do. So we designed the battle space for this era. In America, at this time. And remember what we coined? Psychological guerrilla warfare. Go back a few years ago, we tell, make the Yahoo mad. Make the Americans mad. Because when you get mad, you're not focused, right? You're just mad, right? So if you get in a fight, suppose you just get mad. And the fight go over 1 minute or so. And you're just swinging wild and you're not focused, right? You're going to get beat to death. You're going to get beat to death, right? Because in a fight, we know what is our struggle here in America is a long-range struggle, right? It's a protracted struggle. It's going to take a lot of discipline. It's going to take a lot of organization, and it's going to take tactics and strategic moves that is different than anybody else have taken, because you're in a place where you are dealing with the biggest, the most well-organized country, right, in world history. You can't go out in the woods and hide. And you can't go in the black neighborhood and hide if you want to have a revolution, right? We learned during the period of the rebellion, just think how long our rebellion lasted. Maybe 5 years, right? Why? We didn't have no experience. We didn't get a chance, right, to develop strategies and tactics. As soon as they open their mouth, Malcolm is dead. Next king is dead. They have two opposite opinions on this, right? But they're still both dead. What did that say to everybody else? Whether it's the Black Panther Party, whether it was our later the Dar al-Islam movement, and all of those movements like that. Now, Dar al-Islam movement, although it started in 1963, you look at that constitution, it is strictly on the Sunnah. It's not like the Negro Nation of Islam, you know, which we came up in ourselves. The black man is God and the white man is the devil. Can you imagine that? The student enrollment, right, and all that. Who is the original man? Remember that question? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, and father of civilization. We are lucky that Allah didn't strike us dead on the spot for talking that foolishness. Right? Hey man, Allah could have sent a bolt of lightning and lit our behind. Just imagine what we were saying. I believe the reason we do it didn't happen because Allah knew that them poor guys, they don't even know what they're saying. Right? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, and father of civilization. We have to learn all that by heart. And we thank Allah daily, and sometimes more than that Allah didn't fry our behind for even talking like that for 30 most of our prayers asking forgiveness for being so stupid. No, that ain't shirk. It's not, shirk is insult. Shirk, if you say a nigga, a black man, is God, it don't make sense so much that it don't make no sense. I can't even explain it. But anyway, let me get on. So now we got a struggle here. We got a struggle around the world. We got a struggle internally. So what are we going to do? Design a balanced space for this era and for this time. And one of the things is use the arrogance of others and use the ignorance of others. Use it for your own benefit. Netanyahu, I don't know if y'all studied this guy, He is the most arrogant and the meanest guy I ever seen. He's meaner than Trump. Trump was a sweetie pie compared to Netanyahu. I'm telling you. Of course, Netanyahu is the one who's telling him what to do, right? But anyway, these people have lost all sense of what we call direction. But now, here's what their arrogance do. You got to study people so you can use their weaknesses against them. Okay? You know what? Netanyahu reminds us, have anybody ever seen a picture of those baboons, those big baboons, that from Africa, of course, and they got a big red spot, they got a bald spot on their behind. So when they walk, you can see the big old red behind sticking up. You ever see that? That's the way the Yahud is. And that's the way you have to treat him, like a baboon. You treat him like a baboon. And then what does he do? When you treat him like that, he begins to act like a baboon. And now remember, we talked about 2006. We talked later about 2011. We don't have time to go through it. But now, if anybody was in class the other day, we said, hold on a minute. Right? Anybody remember that? We said, hold on a minute. What was that minute for? To wait for a few more days. See, what was the outcome or the temporary outcome of the Masjid that's invaded, Masjid al-Aqsa, right? And of the stealing of property and the stealing of land. So what did they do? They made the Palestinians, this time, they just sent rocket after rocket after rocket. And you might say, they lost 200 people and the Zionists only lost a handful. In colonialism, that was always, if you was fighting the British, whether it was in India or whether it was Sudan, wherever it was, you lost thousands and they lost 20, 30 people. This is colonialism. The Zionists have all of their weapons. What you have to do, one of the things, your strategy should be to make them mad, make them obnoxious, right? Have you noticed in the news? The whole world, over the decades, there has been a slow transition from supporting the Zionist Israelis to feeling sympathy for our people in the world. First of all, visually, when you see the children and the other people dying, right? And in Yemen, pretty soon it opens your heart. Why are they dying? If you're in America, I mean a white American, anybody, you start asking, well, why? Why is that happening? Then it leads back to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia leads back to the Americans, isn't that right? Huh? Okay. And then you see countries like Iraq that was laid waste. You see the death in Afghanistan, right? And everywhere that we have been under attack, whether it's Syria, now Syria, you have to kind of get your adjustment. During the time of Hafiz Assad, the original dictator, one of the things, he was so bad that it was unbelievable. This is Syria. But in recent times, his son Bashar al-Assad is almost as bad as saying, but there's one difference, and I want to mention, we mention it all the time here, about a strategic alliance. a strategic alliance amongst the Muslims. First you have Iran, right? Then you have Iraq. Iraq and Iran was fighting each other during Saddam's time. Then you have Syria. We call that a strategic alliance. But then the people we never thought would amount to nothing. The first jihad in Afghanistan was against the Russians. Remember? Okay. But in recent years, you can say, well, at least they don't say they're communists. The godless communists, the godless Reds. But you have to put oppressors in line. If the United States is the #1 oppressor for us, and the old Soviet Union falls down the line sometime, if you can use the old Russian so-called approach to have them fight, in a way, the United States with destroying Daesh and all those people. Who are all of those people that are created for us to fight? Daesh, so-called Islamic State, all those people. I'm going to quiet down in a minute and we'll pray, but I want to get us to understand that we're living in a world that is full of danger. And we have to choose a path in this world that is the one that's the most beneficial to Islam and the less dangerous. You see what I mean? Most of the Muslims haven't figured that out. They don't pay no attention to us because, let's be frank, they say the nigger don't speak Arabic, so they can't do it. I mean, of course we can fumble around with it. That is not a criteria for intellect. It's how much you have mastered the Arabic language. What do they do with us, the Negroes that have learned that beautiful recitation? You put them on a show. Oh, they sound so beautiful. Right? And when do we see them next? Out slapping hands, talking trash. And you said they sounded so good. Right? Tell the truth. You can go so far as saying none of them niggas no good. The better the Arabic is, sometimes, not the better their behavior, but the worse, because they learn in Arabic like niggas learn how to sing songs. Tell the truth. Am I lying? I'm not, of course I'm not lying. But then when they listen to it, our brothers, oh, it's perfect pronunciation. The people that win the Quranic contests around the world, tell the truth, it's very seldom Arabs. Mostly Malaysians, tell the truth, Indonesians, even Pakistanis and others, right? Because they can imitate the perfect sound and they like it. So Arabs, the big contests around the world, Arabs may win 15 to 20% of them. I'm just trying to tell you. And then half of them are Sudanese and others way out there. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to move toward use the arrogance and their power against them. You can't meet these people on them. Turn them into Keystone Cops. You remember them old cartoons about Keystone Cops that was always running each other and bumping into each other, stuff like that. Some of them was 100 years old almost. Use their arrogance against them. This is what has happened, especially in recent times. That's why I said, hold on a minute. As of today, as of yesterday, the world in the Congress the world outside, all in Europe, there's a seismic shift taking place. And it's an anti-Zionist shift. Because the Zionists who came to our land and took it over and put our people in prison in their own land, right? Just like it took a long time for South Africa. Remember, South Africans used to be all right. They invested here and everything. And then all of a sudden, you saw divestment going on. And pretty soon, the thing collapsed. This is the first stage. I'm telling you, the first stage for the Zionists, just hold on. It's beginning to shatter. The politicians that are supporting the Zionists, give them time. And what was the biggest help? It is the overwhelming arrogance and hatred of those people for us. And Netanyahu is the worst one. I mean, he used to be the ambassador. He's the worst one. He hates the Palestinians. And he hates the Arabs people. And he hates Islam. You know who he's the biggest enemy of? You ever heard of the Turk? You know the Jews that we have all the programs with? The Torah-loving Jews? They hate Netanyahu the most, and Netanyahu hates them. Yeah, because they say we can't take back what they call the Holy Land. They say when God wants us back, when we've made atonement, see, this is what they say themselves. They say, then God will bring us back. And remember, in history, they got a lot of Yahud in the occupied state. Some of them been there 500 years and others. When our great empire fell, especially in Spain, right? The people went to Morocco and other places. The Jews, and remember, two people got expelled, the Muslims and the Jews. Why? Because the Jews opened up the gates for us when we was coming to Spain, so they got rid of both of us. Many of the Jews, 500 years ago, they went to Palestine. When the Ottoman Empire was falling apart, many of the people went to Palestine voluntarily. The old Israelis have an affection for the Arab peoples, because when they were oppressed, they opened up for them. And they still remember it, right? Not the Yahoo. I want you to understand, Zionists are different. Zionists, recent 100 years or so, a little over 100 years, that is an ideology, a nationalist, racist ideology, right? What Zionism is. Zionism is not Judaism. It is a Zionist. Boy, you ought to see the Jews talk about it. I mean, they have white steak on the menu in Jerusalem. You know what white steak is? Anybody raise your hand? Pork, right? Imagine the Jews, they ain't even thinking about, you ever read the book of Leviticus? Man, if you think the Muslims got stuff that's haram, you ought to read Leviticus. You gotta, if you touch a pig, you gotta scrub yourself up 300 times and all right up. I mean, you know, I'm not saying they exaggerate, but That's the way they approach it, you know what I mean? And then these Zionists, they like pork, you know. They call it white steak, they don't call it pork. That's offensive. We don't have pork, we have white steak. Remember that we used to pluck that center of that pork chop? And of course we liked it. We didn't know any better, I'm just telling you. They do the same thing. They like that pork chop, they pluck that. That's white steak. But anyway, let me speed up. What we have done, we feel like, of course, it's Allah keeping us alive and healthy and everything. We believe we're alive and healthy because Allah is protecting us and been protecting us. So we're not trying to find a safe way to do this. We are being strategic. So, what's the safest route? We believe make the Zionists and the Americans, the FBI and all of them, make them mad. As mad as possible, and then they can't focus on exactly what they're doing. You see what I mean? That's our strategy. That's our tactic. Okay. We just talked about the baboon and that baboon look. But the baboon don't see himself as a baboon. He sees, this is him naturally, right? So, this European, you want to turn him into a baboon? Of course, the Quran says apes and swine. We talk about a baboon. Why? Because a baboon has that big red spot on his behind, and he's walking along like, he looks like, we think he looks like a fool, but he's just doing what's natural. That's what we want to do to the Zionists. That's what we've been doing. Why? We don't have nothing else. So what did we do in Jahiliyyah? Tell the truth. When we got cornered, we always made fun of things. Right? Tell the truth. The American Negro, us, selling wolf tickets. Right? Selling wolf tickets. Let me tell you, I'm going to close. When I first went to the penitentiary from a youth like school, messed up there, they sent me to the penitentiary, and I was in segregation, you know, they segregation, the hole and all of that. And I was on the cell block, and I heard a guy down there. He was talking so bad, of course I was young, he scared me in the cell. So, ooh, this must be the toughest joker in the world. Then it came shower time, and he'd come out one at a time to shower. And he'd come walking down, and I looked at this Negro, must have been 2-3 feet tall, talking all that trash. That's what wolf tickets is, right? You know, you'd have in the neighborhood, and all of y'all been in jail, there's always a jailhouse full of the niggas. I push you up to the head, nigga. I do this and I do that. They specialize in it. We call it wolf tickets, tell the truth. He can't do that. I looked at the guy, he must have been 2-3 feet tall. And that's when it come to me, man, don't never pay no attention to all that trash talk, right? That's what we do to boss man. Boss man, I'll slap you upside here and tell you the truth. And have we here? That's what all the you mess with me, I do this, I do that. What? Selling wolf tickets. It makes boss man mad. It makes them angry. When they get that angry, they are unsophisticated and they lose their focus, right? And they start making mistakes based on you hurting their feelings, right? And making fun of them. and disrespecting. You disrespecting me, I'm running the whole world, you black so-and-so. That's what they be thinking. And we just keep pouring it on. Why? Because that's what Allah gave us. Right? And I'll close with this. What other people play the dozens in history? Negroes. Right? Nobody else plays the dozens. The dozens is talking about people's mother. Because everybody loved their mother, right? Again, when I first went to jail, and I'm 12 years old, and one of the Negroes was talking to the cell, and the little white boy, he's saying, talking about his mama, the little white boy, everybody loved their mama. Oh, boy, he was going crazy. And we do it all the day. Everybody loved their mother, right? At least in those days they did. But white boys didn't play the dozens. Right? Talking about your mother. Your mother, who don't love you? What are you talking? So their idea was, who you talking about now? Mama, he want to kill you, right? But the Negroes do it as a habit. Isn't that right? At least we used to when we was dumb. That was a custom. Called it playing the dozens. If you got mad, you lost. Man, you can't talk about my mama. Why do we never talk about our daddy? Them niggas was running off and spending up all the money. We never tell the truth. We never talked about your daddy ain't no good. Your daddy did this. It's always your mama who you love. Right? That's what we do with Boss Man. We play the dozens. Right? Because we know how to do it. He get mad. We don't want him to be squashing us up, putting us in a juicer or nothing. But, right? I'm trying to tell you, it's strategic management under conditions of repression. Use the tools that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you to fight your battle. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from one of what is beside. Amen. We come to